I'm going to give you a bit of advice for those of you that let your feelings get in the way. And like I said in the beginning with drugs, and you're going to let something control your mind. There's someone I really want to honor right now in this video who means a great deal to me, and is the same person that taught me how to play soccer, taught me how to ride a cycle, spent my entire childhood with me, taught me how to ride a motorcycle. One of the biggest pieces of advice he gave me and my twin brother when I was learning how to ride a motorcycle was the clutch is your mind. When it comes to control, the clutch is your mind. Think of the clutch as your mind. And that same piece of advice I think about every day, most of the time. And it's possibly one of the best life lessons I ever heard. And if you want to understand what I'm saying, either learn how to ride a motorcycle or learn how to ride a manual transmission car. The power that the throttle gives and the brake gives is, or especially the throttle and the engine gives, is dependent on the clutch. There is power in here, there's power in here, but that clutch control is required for you to harness it and understand how to, like, there is a sweet spot in a clutch that when you release it, the the engine is no longer cut off to the wheels. It can finally give the rest of the car the power that the engine is producing. It's the clutch engages and disengages the engine, which is the powerhouse of the entire car. The clutch does that. So even with the motorcycle, it's the same thing. The clutch engages and disengages the engine from the rest of the vehicle. So if you think of the clutch as your mind and you start learning how to ride a motorcycle or a car, and you think about life as you go through it on a daily basis, like, okay, this happened to me today. How am I going to use my mind as the clutch to control it? How am I going to harness the power that's generating in here and in here to control how this power is being used? How do I control the speed through which I feel things and process things? How am I going to how am I going to be a better person for other people with the powerhouse that exists between these two things? There's a lot of people that know God up here that have lost God in here. And they sit in church every day. I'll tell you this too. There's a lot of people that have lost sight of God because of how badly pastors have treated them. They lost their entire relationship and faith in God because of how people treated them. They figured that if we were all created in the image of God and that's how people treat me, then does God even exist? Does God's love and grace and mercy even exist? You have no idea how far it goes to treat someone well. And I hope you can understand something very deep from that lesson. How are you going to use your mind like a clutch to engage and disengage with the engine in you? And how do you distribute that power? Because that energy is there. The engine is producing energy. There's energy being produced in here. How are you going to make sure that that is translated effectively for productive use? And that there is how you get through life. It's what helped me survive since I was a teenager. Understanding that this is the clutch. That's why I love riding motorcycles. That's why I love driving manual cars. because this is the clutch. And when I'm actually sitting there and driving or riding a motorcycle or driving a manual transmission car, I can literally imagine how I'm engaging with my own mind, how I'm engaging with my own heart on the basis of clutch control. It literally is that simple. Oh, by the way, I was like, what's in my back pocket? It's a lollipop. Um, so I thought for a second I thought it was a tool, by the way. Anyway, all of this comes back down to love. Love is the most uniting force. I heard the pastor say, love is the only thing that religion, science, and psychology can agree with. They can all agree that it's the most powerful force. So now, the clutch. How are you going to engage and disengage the energy and the powerful force that love is? How are you going to distribute that energy as you go through life? As you meet that person and you talk to that person and you engage with that coworker or that boss, how are you going to use the clutch to engage in love? And there's only one pastor I listen to, and it's for the biggest reason that he preaches these types of messages. And I'm not getting paid to do this, but if you want to listen to Damon Thompson, I can't recommend that guy enough. Because I remember the first time I ever heard one of his messages properly, a long form message. There is a friend that used to send me a lot of his shorts. He still does, like short form content and stuff. And I said, I don't understand the context, so let me watch the whole sermon. I heard the whole sermon for the first time, and I wanted to punch a hole in the wall. Because I said, this is the same thing I've been thinking, feeling, believing, and knowing to be true about God and preaching to people about for years. And I never thought a pastor was ever going to preach it. So, Damon Thompson Ministries, search him up on YouTube after this. I can speak for longer, but this is the last note that I want to end on. Search up Damon Thompson Ministries on YouTube and just start listening to his messages. Your life will be transformed. You'll end up becoming a completely different person. Half the reason I can do all of this and talk as much as I can is because of the messages that I hear. There are certain things that he says that the Holy Spirit clicks in my mind and says, this is what you're going to speak off of that because your experience is different than his. So please do go ahead and watch him. And I hope you have a great week ahead. Remember, clutch control.